up, everybody? Welcome to Dharma Time. As always, I'm your host, the Dharma Guy, and then, as usual, I'm joined with the Dope Doctor. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Good, man. It's for those of you watching live, this is an early Tuesday morning here. We're never really
It's
on this
early.
early. Yeah, man. I don't know if that's going to affect our live numbers because I don't know if our listeners are late risers or not, but thankfully they can always catch this later on all the podcast channels that are out there, Spotify, I think, and
And all the
iTunes.
YouTube shows that are up.
Yeah, well, all the ones that are currently up,
That's what
the last like
the
2 months.
the ninja comes today. The ninja
Okay.
comes today.
All right. Well, hopefully then we can put into work because I know the Hopeathon is coming up this weekend,
Yep.
which we'll talk about in a second. But hopefully he can upload and work on the Hopeathon stuff at the same time. Hopefully
Yeah.
his computer's fancy enough for that. That'd be nice. Because yes, I think our YouTube listeners on both the couch and Dharma Time would like to be able to catch up and watch our old shows. But regardless, if you are wanting to watch live or listen live while you're driving or doing whatever, all of our shows on both Dharma Time and the Couch Live are up on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, I don't know, all of them, basically. All the major ones I think we're up on. But anyways, I digress. Let me first, before we get into the show topic today, let me remind everybody that, yes, this weekend you can tune in to watch us and many other people talking about hope on the Hopeathon. And you can check that out at thehopeathon.com, or you can watch via Facebook Live and communicate back and forth. And that's going to be at facebook.com/nowmattersmore. That's on our foundation's Facebook page. I believe it's also going to be on Orange County's YouTube channel. And so we'll be simulcasting for, 24 hours, man, starting Friday night at midnight. So it'll be Saturday, basically all day, night Saturday, from midnight to midnight. And we'll be talking about hope, man, and different messages of hope. We got some really cool things coming up during that podcast. I hope you guys tune in. Obviously, one of the main things is, aside from just giving messages of hope, is also to get money. I mean, we partnered up with, I think it was 9 other nonprofits here locally that do a lot of good work in the community. And so any money that we get, we're going to disperse it amongst all the different charities. And so if you can give financially, if you have the means, by all means, we absolutely love that. But if you don't, and you still want to find a way of contributing, for this month actually, we have a text service that you can text in that will allow you to get a link and start filling out surveys, which take roughly 60 seconds or so. And each survey that you fill out will result in $2 donated to the cause. And so if you would like to join that or get your friends or family to join that, you could do it by texting Now Matters, that's all one word, Now Matters, to 31996. That's text Now Matters to 31996. If you didn't catch that, you can always go to our Now Matters More Facebook page. It's been posted on there, my personal page, Louis' personal page. And that's actually started as of yesterday. That is up and running. So right now, you could text that, get your link, and start filling out surveys. But wait till after the show's over, because we'd like for you to hear what we have to say. So, anyways, once again, as I was saying at the top of the show before we went live, our resident celebrity here has got people, places, and things he's got to go do. So we came on early today. Our show's normally at 1 o'clock, but we're doing a little bit early live, so we could try to squeeze it in. I think we're going to have enough time, hopefully, after this show. If you guys want to stick around after the outro, we're going to do our sports show today. We were trying to do all 4 shows, but we just don't have time. So, but anyway, so today's show, man, let's just get right into it because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So today's show, man, I wanted to talk about, now we haven't had our We the Middle episode yet, referencing the election stuff for the politics, but I think, I was thinking about a topic today, and actually, you know what, before I knew you were coming on today, because we previously discussed that you weren't going to be available at all. So I was reaching out to a buddy of mine to see if he would come on, and I was just going to do Dharma Time anyways and talk about moving on, because I've spoken to him in the past, and he's always had some really good insight when it comes to moving on past elections. Like, he was the voice of reason for a lot of people when Trump originally won, when they were all kind of upset about it, and I'm sure he would have some great insight for this one as well. But you were able to be on, so now here we are.
You want me to leave? You want me to let you guys have
No,
your
he's
moment?
he's unavailable anyways. So, but no. So anyway, moving on, man. I think it's an important topic, dude. I think that right now is a crucial time for everybody. I think that
No.
while the technically, I guess the election stuff is still kind of going on, depending on who you're talking to.
Hmm.
They're not certified yet, and I know there's still like lawsuit stuff pending and whatnot. And regardless if you believe that's going to change the outcome or not, it doesn't matter. I think at this point we've got to start talking about moving on, right? Like how do we move forward?
Hmm.
How do
Yeah.
we kind of get over it? You know, if your person lost, how do you get over it? If your person won, how do you win with grace? You know, like how do we move on? How do we start this? And you know, first and foremost, if you are a person who your candidate just won, I would caution you on pointing the finger too much and telling people to kind of just let it go and get over it. Only because some can make the argument that for the past 4 years, nobody accepted the previous election, and so it just makes you look kind of hypocritical, and it just leaves room for argument. So I would urge you, if your team just won, to at least acknowledge and recognize that there's a whole group of people out there that are a little upset and distraught at the moment, and that's okay because you know many other people were as well. So taking that into consideration, we still have to move forward, both sides, and so I think that you know, philosophically speaking, we have to understand that every 4 years, dude, half the country's pissed off. All right, and 4 years for the last 4 years, the red won. So now the blue's going to get a chance for 4 years. It just goes back and forth, right? We had Obama for 8 years, then we had Trump for four. So you know, we kind of just have to accept that that's the democracy we live in. You know, believe it or not, that's what makes this country so great. Is every 4 years, man, we got a chance to turn it and flip it around. And I'll be honest with you, there's a part of me that kind of likes the fact that it goes back and forth because it shows that we are a true democracy and it shows that we have a multitude of different ideas and opinions. I don't always agree with whoever's in office. No, I don't always agree with the party that's in power, but I'm not supposed to, right? I mean, if we're in a true democracy, that means that you're going to win a little and you're going to lose a little. You know, that's the whole point. That's the whole idea of compromise is you got to give up something. And so I think that right now, I think that should be the focus for everybody is moving on. And no matter who you're for, you got to accept the president, man. Assuming Biden does pull this off and win, which I have no belief that he won't. I mean, by all indicators, it looks like it's going to happen. So, for the purposes of this discussion, I'm going to refer to him as the new president. Um, you got to get behind him. You know, when he takes office January 20th, I'm going to support Biden, and I'm going to hope that he does the best for our community, and I'm going to look at what he does and judge it if I agree with with the things he put in place or I don't. But I'm going to give him a chance to be successful because at the end of the day, that's what matters. And I think that that's what we got to kind of keep our eye on the ball, man. Is as I said numerous times, and as I continue to say, you can be right or you can be happy, and I choose to be happy, man. Go for it.
I'm agreeing with you 100%, man. Everything you said so far is spot on. I think we haven't moved on for 4 years, and I think we kind of knew that we were going to be in this same place, not moving on for another 4 years. Only we probably thought it was going to be the same people complaining. But I'm going to say, kind of luckily, red one. That way, the buildings aren't burning. So at least people are moving up, but at least buildings aren't burning,
I mean,
brother.
blue one.
Huh?
You mean luckily blue one?
Yeah, luckily blue one
Yeah,
for the sake of business owners, so
yeah,
their buildings aren't burning. But we do have to learn how to just take the L, man. It's weird because there's a lot of people that believe in participation trophies. I'm not one of them.
me either.
But yet we're very hypocritical. A lot of times when they're the ones that lose, all of a sudden now they're not so great with participation trophies.
Yeah,
And then now everybody wants to hand out participation trophies again. Hey, just take the L, go. But you and I stay consistent. We believe it completely, which I really like. I like that. At least in this respect, we think a lot alike. If you're the victor, be the victor.
yeah,
If you're the loser, be the loser. But either way, go back, regroup, shake it off, come back another day. And that's the way it is with every day, right? And in any day,
yep,
everybody in their life will go through some form of struggle or some form of thing that might get you down. You might lose a little. You might feel very defeated, and you can keep thinking about that defeat for for the rest of your life. You can let it carry, you can carry it with you throughout your older ages, and just never let go of that defeat, and just constantly always reflect back to that defeat. And whenever things don't go right, you reflect back on that defeat, you blame that defeat, um, or you can move on and truly move on and let that defeat be an incident rather than the beginning of a process. It's an incident. And I look at most defeats as incidences.
Yeah.
And with any incident, it's a single event. And then you kind of like, back away from it. I'm going to use a baseball analogy because, I think baseball is the best way to do an analogy to this. You back away from that plate and you start your entire routine all over again. So if you usually hit your feet with the bat, and shrug your shoulders and swing the bat 3 times, well, then that's exactly what you do each time. Right. Golf, you do the same thing. Every sport, typically the same thing. Basketball, you bounce. If you go for a free throw, you throw the ball exactly the same amount of times. And if there's some noise or distraction, you back away, and then you do the same routine over and over again. The reason we do these routines in sports is because we have, there's muscle memory. But besides muscle memory, we also have, the memory of the wins, and we know how to get it done. So just back away, from your life a little bit, regroup, go through your routine of however you wake up during the day. Like if your day's going bad, just what's your morning routine? Go through that routine again, shake it off, refresh the brain, and then reset, restart, and go back and do it again. And so that's what we hope that people do, right? Is that just no matter what the situation is, refresh, restart, do it again.
Yeah, I would also encourage. You kind of touched on something there a little bit that I want to expand on, and that is, I think that, and I'm speaking, generally now, not just specifically with this particular election, because once again, we'll do our politics show later, but from a Dharma Time perspective, in life, we got to really be very careful on giving too much emphasis or too much weight to any one incident, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've heard people with the politics stuff, I've heard people like defriending people and things of that nature. Like, it's important to remember that's only one aspect of who we are. Whoever either one of us or anybody out there voted for, that's only one aspect of who you are as a human being. Like, that doesn't sum up everything about you. And if you take
unless it exposes them as an asshole, and then for some people that's just enough.
But asshole's a very subjective term. Asshole for one is a straight shooter for another. Like,
so is friending somebody. It's very subjective. If you want to be their friend, that's up to you. I mean, if anyone wants to unfriend us simply because we say what we say,
go for it.
All the power to you. I think what you're saying though is that it's typically petty.
It
Not
is.
always petty, but it's typically petty.
I'm just pointing out the fact that once again, I go back to where I would talk to my kids at the end of the day when they've had a day for school. And I would ask them how their day was. And sometimes they would say, my day was bad. And I'd say, well, what do you mean? What happened? And they would proceed to tell me this 12-second interaction that didn't go the way they wanted it to go. And then they would tell me their whole day was bad. And so I would correct him. I'd say, well, and oftentimes it was my daughter. I'd say, well, baby, it doesn't sound like your day was bad. It sounds like your day was actually pretty good, but you had like one little moment that just didn't do what you wanted it to do.
Right.
And so I think that's what I'm trying to get at is, a whole person doesn't necessarily mean like that whole entire person, everything about them is horrible because they voted against you or they voted, differently than you. That's just one aspect of who they are, man. Like that's a multifaceted person. They have, tons of different things that offer value, and just this one area they disagree with you in. That's okay, right? And in life, your whole day can be going great, but don't allow one or two little things that didn't go your way to mess up everything. And make it to where you can't move on, right? That's the title of the show today, is moving on. You got to move on. You got to move past it. When you take whatever go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask you a question. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Hey, you're a celebrity here, man. My grudge holder? Not typically, no. I can, obviously. I think everybody can, but no, I don't think so. I think when I was younger, I held a grudge against my dad, I guess, for many years. But once I learned to let that go, it kind of filtered into everything else in my life. So now I try not to hold grudges. I try to, and I'm blessed in a sense too, right? Like I'm blessed in the sense that I hang around a lot of people who also don't seem to hold grudges. I think that I traditionally don't hold a grudge because it's just not worth it to me. I try to just move past it. I try to just like, all right, whatever, we disagree,
Yeah.
or this happened. I kind of go
Yeah.
on my day. But then, like, hanging out with like you, for instance, when we were doing tropical, and dealing with a lot of stuff that was going on there, and I would see that you just constantly gave second chances. And I'll be honest with you, man. Half the time I was like, this dude's fucking nuts, man. Like, why is he doing this? Like, I could never quite place it because while I didn't hold grudges in certain areas of my life, I didn't carry that belief in every aspect of my life yet. And then I would see you give second chances to people, and sometimes it was like 10th chances to people, and I was like, why the hell is it, like, it just didn't make sense to me until I started seeing the fruit of all that coming out, right? Until I started seeing, oh, that's why the second. Okay, I get it now. And so then I started even more so carrying that in every area of my life, right? It was a reminder to me to keep that going. And so I don't typically hold grudges, and thankfully I'm surrounded by people who also don't hold grudges. So anytime I might feel so inclined, the people closest to me remind me very quickly that that's just not the way to go. So yeah, I mean, because I used to do that whole, forgive but never forget kind of a thing, and just that's an asshole. That's all that is, man.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you're holding on to one mistake that somebody made, and you're punishing for that. Just stop.
Right.
Like,
My,
just
the good thing about being kind of a burnout is I actually forget. That's why I have to forgive because
yeah, there you go.
I forget.
Sure, yeah, man. And you know
I
what?
unfriended psychologically. I've unfriended my daughter a couple times.
I'm gonna put this up here.
Psychologically.
Marissa, excuse me. We were both messing up her name.
Maria.
Yeah, right. So I'm gonna put this up here, and it says, she says, it's like the meme. Did you have a bad day, or did you have a bad few minutes that you dwelled on all day?
Amen.
I 100% agree. That's kind of the point I'm making. Is I think that, like, I know right now, man. I know a lot of people on both sides of the fence, and
Yeah.
without getting into the political realm, I'm just saying I know that there's a lot of people who are really, really excited right now and happy, and there's a lot of people right now who are upset and questioning things and a little resentful at the moment. And I think both of them just need to move on. And I think both of them need to understand, win with grace, because understand it wasn't but like, a couple weeks ago you were pretty upset. Like, you can't now all of a sudden act like everything's great. And for the other side, it's like, bro, you had 4 years, right? Like, and it might not have gone the way you wanted it, but at the same time, you got to take the L. And so I think in life, we have to learn how to, like you said at the top, this whole participation trophy where everybody's a winner. Like, shut up.
Yeah.
No, not everybody wins, dude. And that's okay.
Nope.
We're not supposed to win all the time. We're supposed to take losses every now and then. That's how we learn. That's how we get
Right.
better. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. And
Right.
so, but even if you have the L, if you don't accept the L, then you're never going to grow, because you're going to always come up with justifications on why that L isn't real. And so that means you're never going to do the necessary growth that inhibited you from having that W in the first place, right? If you got an L, whether you agree with it or not, if you got an L, there's a reason for it. Something you
Right.
were doing just wasn't able to cut it for the win. And so if you're not able to accept the loss, then you're never going to do the work it takes to get you over that little hump. You're just going to sit back and blame everybody else because it's not your fault, right? It's everybody else. They don't get it. They don't do this or whatever it might be. So in order to move on, you have to accept the reality of the situation. And if the reality of the situation is you took a loss in that moment, whatever that is, I mean, I know we're indirectly talking about the political thing, but from a spiritual realm, we have losses every day, right? Like,
Every day.
ever had a disagreement with your spouse? There's a loss in there somewhere. Ever have a disagreement with your boss? There's a loss in there somewhere. Ever had, dude, I was taking losses as trivial as we have a recycling thing here in Orange County. And for 2 weeks straight, they would come out and they lit this little note on my thing, tell me they wouldn't take it because there's one thing in there, right? And so,
What?
yeah, it's ridiculous. But in order for me, I could either be upset and argue with them and not take the loss, and then what would end up happening is they wouldn't pick up my stuff, or I saw them walking down the street one time. I was on my way out to go train a client, and I saw them, and I could tell it was funny actually, because I think they were expecting me not to take the loss. I pulled up, I saw them, I rolled my window down. I could see by their body language, they were like, "Oh God, this dude's about to completely go off on us." And I simply just rolled down the window and said, "Hey guys, can you do me a favor? Can you explain to me what it is that's in there so I know to fix it?" And they asked me my address. I told them. They had a little photo. They looked at it and says, "Oh, what was this?" I was like, "That's it?" And they said, "Yes." I said, "Okay, great." And then so I moved on with my day. And when I got home later on at night, I took that one piece out, and then I for the rest of the week I did what I was supposed to do. And then on the next trash day, when I went out there's another tag on my thing. My first thought was like, "Are you kidding me?" Until I got closer and it said, "Good job, you did a great." There was a little attaboy basically, signifying that we did a good job, and they took the stuff right.
Wow,
And,
they have time for that?
and there was these two kids that were walking around. But my point being is, I could have very easily gotten irritated with that. I could have very easily like questioned, the semantics of the situation, again, been pissed off and done whatever. But instead, I took the loss. Instead, I just took the L's. Okay, obviously, whatever we did not coincide with the rules that they
Yeah,
have. So
yeah,
let me grow. Let me learn from it. Let me ask them. Okay, I accept the loss. What do I need to do? They told me
right,
what I need to do. I fixed it, and now it's not a problem. And that's what I mean by we have losses every day. It's not always something major like an election. It's not always something major like a fight with somebody. Sometimes it's a little stupid mundane thing throughout the day that you have to acknowledge you took the loss, and that's okay, dude. I think too often we get this idea that if we take a loss, it impacts our value somehow, right? Somehow I'm less than or I'm not good enough if I took a loss here. No, taking a loss just means you're human, man. That's it. Nobody is perfect. Taking a loss is just a natural part of being a human being. And if you're trying to be the best human being that you can possibly be, then you have to be willing enough to acknowledge the losses when you take them,
right,
figure out what it is you need to do, and move on. And I think that's
right.
what we all collectively need to do right now.
Yeah, can you put up Maynard's comment? The
Uh,
no one will take my energy.
yeah, yeah. Here we go.
You
He
know,
said,
because
"No one will take my energy." That's awesome.
yeah, and I think that's really at the end of the day, that's the real key point right there. That no one can take your energy. No one has control over your emotional response. Now you may have a history of certain emotional responses from certain stimuli, from certain things that have happened in your life, but if you heal well, and I encourage everyone to do whatever you can to heal well from whatever caused some serious bad energy inside you to exist or to ferment or to morph into something else, right? But if you heal right, then the next time any event is even similar, you won't respond the same. That's
Yeah.
that's the key of healing, right? That's how you know you're getting better. Now we're not perfect. Like Trinity said, he may respond or react sometimes, not always respond. I react sometimes, not always respond. I'm sure I've done it within the last 72 hours. But the point is that by acknowledging it and by knowing that, look, I'm either am I okay with it or am I not okay with that? Then I can change it to what it needs to be. When you ignore it completely and deny that it's in existence and deny that you have this defect within you that's working against you, that's when you're guaranteed to experience it over and over again, and then it can never go right. Um, Now, again, I mean, I don't know any other analogies to use other than sports analogy, and maybe that's because you know, um, maybe it's because I'm just a mansplainer. I don't know,
Shame
but
on you.
if there's difference. There's things that so you learn them, and then there's other things that are very instinctual, right, Trinity?
Okay.
So moving on, everything very difficult, I like it to become instinctual. Like that's why I call my recovery instinctual. I don't want to be thinking about it on a daily basis. I don't want to think about certain decisions on a daily basis. And I'll give you an example. Like you and I think, are very good husbands in the respect that we don't stray. There's a lot of guys out there that struggle with that. There's a lot of women out there that struggle with that, so it makes it almost look very normal that exists, right? But I think it's because some people have not instinctually became the husband or instinctually became the wife. Now, when you become an instinctual husband or instinctual wife, there may be things out there that look the part, sound the part, smell the part, but they're not the part, and therefore you just instinctually do the right thing. You go the opposite direction. You say the right thing. Whatever it is you do, I want that with everything. You know what I mean, Trinity? So I'm,
Sure.
I'm real good at it with some things, and then not so good at it with other things. So I want to be that good at it with everything. You know what I mean? Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I think moving on is for me. Moving on gets easier and becomes more effective when it becomes very instinctual to kind of like just brush it off. I mean, it is what it is. I think that's why that little statement is so good for a lot of people. I think that's why it's become so popular in the last 10 years, right? It is what it is. It's a popular statement, but do you live it?
Yeah.
Can you allow yourself to live it? Or are you okay with it just being a popular statement out there? Because I remember when I first got in the rooms, and you would see little things like "easy does it," one day at a time, and I'd be like, "Oh, this corny shit, man. This is some corny shit, man. I don't know. Maybe that's good for you, but it doesn't work for me." But the corny shit works.
Yeah.
It just does.
Well, the funny part is like you bring up those little phrases and stuff, right?
Hmm.
Part of my psyche as far as moving on, even just to show that I don't hold grudges. Actually, it's
Right.
oddly
Right.
enough, I have two tattoos on me that when I got years ago, people who didn't know me, they would come up and ask me sometimes if I was in recovery, and I never understood what the hell they were talking about. I was like, no, what do you mean? Until I started talking to more and more people, I got involved in this niche. Then I realized I have day by day written on my arm. I have day by day, no regrets. Right, that's what I have written down,
Yeah.
and people can come at that from two different ways. Right, with the day by day, a lot of times people think it's a recovery thing because oftentimes that's how they discuss it, day by minute, whatever. And then so for me, the day by day thing meant I try not to look too far ahead of me, and I try not to look too far behind me. I try to kind of stay in the moment, stay what's happening right now, because tomorrow might not come, and yesterday's already passed. And
Right.
so I try to focus on what I'm doing right now and how I'm feeling right now and what's happening right now. And then the no regrets, oftentimes people will look at that and think it's kind of like a prick thing, right? Like, how dare you say you don't have any regrets? Like you're perfect or whatever. And my response is no, that's not what no regrets means. I try to do my best to live my life with no regrets. And what I mean by that is each decision that I have to make throughout my day, no matter what it is, I kind of have the same process. I evaluate what it is, I try to figure out the pros and cons, and I try to make the best decision. And that sometimes it works out and it's awesome when it does. But there's other times it doesn't work out. But if it doesn't go my favor, I can't regret my decision because I base my decision on sound decision making and critical
Right.
thinking. And I can never base my decisions on the outcome. I have to base my decision on the process because I can't control the outcome, but I can control the process. So that's how I've been able to live my life with no regrets. Are there things in my life that I wish went differently? Of course, man. There's a lotto ticket I bought a few years ago. I wish I would have won that, right?
Yeah.
But but I don't regret anything that I've done, even the things that turned out the way I didn't want them to, because I couldn't control that, but I could control my decision making process.
Right.
And so that to me is also part of moving on, man, is you got to have a process. And not everything's going to work out in your favor, and that's okay. You can't look at losses like a bad thing. Yes, they're bad in the sense that they didn't fit within what your expectations were or your desires were, but who the hell has every expectation and every desire met? Like, nobody does. So we got to learn to understand that sometimes in life you're going to take a loss and you got to move on. You got to just accept it for what it is, learn from it, grow from it, and move on to the next.
And another thing, Trinity, another part of this that I just thought about is that you also can't wait till the timing is perfect.
There is no
In a
perfect
lot
time.
of things, because then you might just stay stagnant, or you might stay stuck. There's a lot of people in some situations, whether it be a relationship or employment or something, that they're thinking about when to pull that trigger.
Now,
Do I get engaged? Do I not get engaged? Do I get divorced? Do I not get divorced? Do I buy the house? Do I not buy the house? Do I leave this job and go for another? Do I not? Do I go back to school? You get the point.
yeah,
The point is that there's a lot of individuals out there that just are waiting to pull a trigger on some sort of decision because they can't move on because they're comfortable or because they have fear attached to it. Like what happens if? Well, I don't know. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Um, this is it's never been done before. No matter how much feedback you get from other people, no matter how much counsel you get, or anything, nobody's ever done your life before. Your life is very unique to you. Your experience is your experience, and therefore you're not going to know unless you do it. Now, I'm not going to say that means you always do it. You gotta weigh out the pros and cons to the best of your ability. Do the research to the best of your ability. But if everything points in the favor of doing, and the only thing sticking you there is fear, anxiety, and the inability to move on, then that's when you need to get that extra little bit of oomph, and do it.
yeah,
If what's preventing you from moving on, it's really not the right thing to do. You see another angle, you see another thing that you have yet to try, to attempt, to negotiate, to communicate. Well, then that's different. Then you wait.
right.
But if all signs lean towards it's going to happen anyway, well then, pull the ripcord.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. I've had those moments in my life, and I've had to snap out of it and realize, like, I'm a survivor. I'm gonna survive. So, if it's something that I want, if it's within my, parameters of life, if you will, then
Hmm.
I've learned to just pull the trigger on that and move on
Yeah.
and accept whatever happens. But I think that's the biggest thing, man. Is we got to accept things as they are, not as we want them to be. I don't think we, and I use the collective we. I think we have a hard time doing that. We have this
Yeah.
idea of how things should be,
Yeah.
and we spend all day long judging every outcome and every potentiality based upon what should be in our mind.
Right.
And we forget that there's a billion other people out there who also have should be's. And it doesn't always coincide with what our should be is. And we have no control over the should be, and we gotta stop that. We gotta stop having this concept of there's a should be out there. Well, it should be this. Says who, man? Like, you don't control that. You can only respond to what's in front of you. And then sometimes if it doesn't match up to your should be, then maybe your should be needs to be reevaluated. Or maybe it's just not the right time for your should be. Maybe your should be will come around another time from now. But it just obviously wasn't meant to happen right now, so accept it, move on. I see you
Yeah.
giggling about something. Somebody wrote something.
Yeah. First of all, stop shitting all over yourself. But the second thing, yeah, Maynard just told me Big Ben went down, was placed on the COVID list. So we got to get to this sports show sooner rather than later because that's
Yeah,
driving me
that's what.
crazy
Well,
just
I know you
thinking
got
about that.
I got some other things about that too, actually. So, you got any final words on this? Because I know you got to go soon to
Yeah.
Georgia. So
Yeah.
we'll cut this one a little bit short. So, you got any final
Right.
words on moving on?
No, I'm just simply going to move on.
Wow,
And that's the lesson, kids. Move on.
wow.
Move the f-
All right, so short and sweet there. I will have a little bit of final words on there. First and foremost, thank you guys for tuning in today. For those of you watching live on Facebook Live, feel free to stick around for the next few minutes because we're going to transition now into our sports show called The Morning After with Dope and Dharma. It's where we discuss, latest ongoings in sports, and trust me, we have quite a few things to talk about today. But for those of you tuned in just for Dharma Time, we're coming to the end. Thank you so much. Make sure you guys like and follow us on our social media. He is at the Dope Doctor. I am at the Dharma Guy. We are at WPSN99. And while you're at it, go ahead and like at Now Matters More because we got the Hopeathon coming up this Friday night at midnight, going all the way until Saturday night at midnight. 24 Hours of Hope. You can check that out at thehopeathon.com, and you can watch the live stream. You can give back, you can listen, you can watch, you can share it with friends, do whatever makes you happy. As far as this show is concerned, by all means, if you think there's any value in this or any of the other shows, feel free to share them, like them. Believe it or not, those really do help us when we get the likes and subscribes and stuff. But as far as our tips, man, I actually came up with a couple tips real quick.
Before you do that, there's
Oh,
I
well,
forgot
hold
to
on, let me bring
show
you on.
this.
All right, what is that?
That's my favorite coaster. And it
Ah,
and it. Oh wait.
yeah, it's on. Oh,
There you
let that shit go. I agree 100%, man.
All right. Now
There's
you can
another
just.
one that's like, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff.
Yep.
So, anyways, all right. So I got three tips for everybody. Once again, we kind of been slacking on that a little bit, but I'd like to give you guys some action plans here, or some actual physical things to do to help apply some of the things that we talked about. So for today, man, the first tip I got is number one: understand that losses happen in life, man. Understand that sometimes in life things are just not going to go your way. You have to wrap your head around that concept. You can't start out every single day thinking today is going to be the day where you just win all day long, where everything goes your way. Because at the end of the day, you're not Parker Lewis. And for those kids out there, look up Parker Lewis Can't Lose. That's what I'm referring to. The second one is when you do have a loss, or even a win for that matter, use that as an opportunity to grow, right? If you have a loss, use that as an opportunity to figure out what it was that you did that gave you the loss in the first place, or what you could have done differently or could have done better. And if you got the W, use that as an opportunity to grow with grace. Use that as an opportunity to grow and learn how to understand that yeah, you won this time, but the next time might be a loss for you. So understand that the person who was thinking differently than you, they're going through a loss right now, and learn to respect and appreciate that. And then finally, I said it earlier, you got to learn how to separate your losses from your value as a person. If something didn't go your way right now, or you didn't win whatever the situation may be, and just so everybody knows, when I say win, we don't mean like a sporting competition or a vote for that matter. We're just talking about a situation that just didn't go the way you wanted it to go, whatever it might be. And so understand that if that situation didn't go the way you wanted it to go, that has nothing to do with who you are as a person or your value or things of that nature. It just has to do with that particular situation, for whatever reason, didn't line up to what your expectations were. And so maybe you need to adjust your expectations. Maybe you need to adjust the way you went about it. I don't know. The bottom line is there's something to be learned from that situation. So, anyways, once again, thank you guys. That's the show for today. Stick around if you want for a few minutes. We're going to go ahead and have the morning after with Dope and Dharma, where we talk about sports. But for those of you tuning out and only tuned in for Dharma Time, thank you. And now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.